Welcome to my book review on Emergence, Contemporary Readings in Philosophy and Science. I'm Ryan Palaro, currently in my Master's of Education at the University of Ottawa, and this is for EDU 519, Introduction to Research and Education, taught by Dr. Olga Fellis. The novel Emergence, Contemporary Readings in Philosophy and Science helps provide the readers with the knowledge they need in order to better understand the theory of emergence. Both authors, Purdue and Humphreys, act as guides throughout various studies on emergence and topics surrounding it. The main purpose of the novel from the authors is to use different studies that will provide multiple definitions on what emergence theory is. However, the authors know that there is more than one definition, and never try to provide one solid definition for this answer, as it would defeat the goal of the novel. The novel aims for another purpose, of providing framework and structure on the evolution of emergence, and how the theory has changed throughout history and time. This is because emergence is a complex theory, and has changed many times and has multiple points of view on what rules are needed to be applied in order for something to be emergent or not. In order to show these purposes, the novel examines 24 studies on the topic of emergence, and breaks it down into 3 categories. These categories include philosophy, science, and background and polemics. Throughout each study cited in the book, the authors try to summarize the theory of emergence as a way to explain complex systems found throughout the known world. Each system aims to defy rules in order to further explain how emergence can be defined. However, the book doesn't try to use these research papers that all agree on the same properties for emergence. For example, the first couple studies of emergence don't know how to describe the theory with one definition, because it depends how you look at it. There's the physical sense, in which the book uses an example of a monomer coming together to create a new polymer, which has its own characteristics and properties. These early chapters of the book look at 2 or more base units coming together to make something new. For example, we can look at water being from hydrogen and oxygen molecules. The conditions that are set for this type of emergence is that the properties of water can't be defined by just looking at hydrogen or oxygen molecules, and therefore something complex is created. The early stages of the book introduce the concepts of reductibility, which is the ability of a complex system to be reduced in its base units, and unpredictability, which is the ability of how likely the properties of the new system are able to be predicted, being laws for something to be emergence. However, later on in the novel, certain studies point out flaws with these laws, saying that they can change based on how much knowledge and scientific tools are present at the time throughout history. For example, Study 1 by Brian McLaughlin uses a solar eclipse as an example, as an emergent property. And this is because early civilizations thought eclipses to be unpredictable and uncommon. However, with the present scientific knowledge and how it has evolved, eclipses can be predicted as to when and why they can occur. Using this example, it can state that the solar eclipse was something that was emergent in the past, but this definition have to be changed based on the tools that are provided now. In comparing multiple studies on the field of emergence, the novel is able to provide the answers to the purposes it proposes. This can be seen as many studies bring the idea of whether something is emergent. It comes up that the definition of emergence lies in the eye of the beholder, and that it's difficult to conclude if something is emergent and can go from being emergent to being non-emergent, just like the solar eclipse. Studies in the novel later talk about emergence having multiple perspectives, like molecules coming together, or looking at the more natural world, like a school of fish swimming in a group. The authors are successfully able to provide multiple studies with different arguments to help the reader understand what emergence theory is, and that is an ongoing debate. In comparing multiple studies, it can give background on emergent theory and provide the reader with the information needed to come up with their own thoughts and where future research on emergence might go. Multiple recurring themes come up in the novel, such as reductionism, weak versus strong emergence, and the level of hierarchy needs. The author provides different definitions and various laws on these topics in order to best debate which should or should not count as emergent. However, the author never tries to come up with one solid definition on the topic, since the achievement would contradict the purpose of writing so many studies of varied results. In looking at the novel from a critical analysis point of view, it provides a framework on how research methods can be improved in education. For example, the authors do a great job of comparing multiple studies together that both agree and disagree with one another to provide the reader with multiple perspectives. When doing research, I'm not often compare both perspectives, but from reading the novel, I can see that it provides readers with the information they need to make their own opinions on the topic. Both authors are not trying to prove a point, but rather give multiple ideas on the theory and then have the reader decide what they think on the subject or not. Since emergence is more of a concept, it can be hard to find quantitative data on the theory. Certain studies use mathematical models to show emergence in practice, but the authors have a hard time connecting the theme displayed in the rest of the book. One question that remains open is where the theory of emergence is headed in the future. For example, many studies talk about whether consciousness plays a role in emergence. For example, one study states that you need to feel pain in order to describe it, and therefore consciousness is different from emergent because it's more than just neurons coming together. However, as computers get more advanced, with simulations being more evident, it comes to question whether one day we will be able to simulate certain experiences and if this should be considered emergent or not. The novel touches on this topic with AI, artificial intelligence, but doesn't have an answer as this is still an ongoing process in the field. After completing the novel, it made me wonder about how research is conducted in education and if comparing multiple perspectives would be useful in the education settings. For example, the novel addresses the mixing of humans, such as marriage or a baseball team, following a similar process of emergence under certain rules of its definition. When considering the classroom environment, this can be considered emergent under certain properties. Each student brings with them a variety of complex perspectives that affect the classroom on a daily basis. Thus, the classroom becomes a complex system of its own. This view is only possible when looking at multiple perspectives, which the novel does a great job of providing.